Hey, um, haven't done any sword reviews lately, and the reason is I have a scratch. Yeah, I had a heart attack and double bypass surgery, so I've been healing up from that. So not a lot of sword action or anything else other than sitting around doing nothing. But that's it. Hey, this is, as the title said, a review of Deepeeka's take on the Philip the Fair or Philip IV sword that was found in Chartres Cathedral, and it's supposedly gifted to Chartres by King Philip of France for a victory he had over the Flemings. Whether it was his own personal sword or whether it was one of many swords that the King of France maybe got and he gave it to the Cathedral of Chartres in celebration of his victory, I don't know. Anyway, so here it is. So this sword has been reviewed a couple times on the internets, and so I decided I will do the same thing. This was purchased from Cult of Athena. I purchased it with sharpening service. It came unsharpened. I contacted Cult of Athena. They were real stand-up about it. You know, they admitted, oops, they made a mistake. They refunded me the $30 sharpening charge. So, thank you, Cult of Athena. So, what do I think about this sword? Well, there's good things and bad things about it. And right off the bat, when I got this sword, there was a piece of foam rubber glued in here. My first impressions of the scabbard is that there's some kind of rubber inside there. And I think they put that in there because they thought, oh, well, the way it's made, this sword will fall right out. So if we put the rubber in there, it'll be more solid. Yes, it will be more solid, but this is ridiculous. Now, I've taken the foam out. Now, I know the reason why they put the foam in there, because without the foam, it's just going to fall right out. So, as with a lot of swords that I've seen from Deepeeka, their scabbards are a bit overbuilt. They're a little thick, and they're a little on the rattly loosey side. Now, personally, I would prefer walking around with a sword that's much easier to draw, because in reality, if you needed to draw your sword, you would really want a sword to come out of the scabbard easily. You don't want to have to be using two hands to draw your sword. That's a waste of a hand, you know. Particularly if the only reason you would draw a sword in the Middle Ages would be to defend yourself or attack somebody. You're not just going to draw your sword for the heck of it. And look at my sword, you know. I mean, maybe. I wasn't alive back then, so who knows? Well, I am old. So what do I think of the sword other than that? So we can dispense with the scabbard. The scabbard, you know, it's red leather. It is stitched. It's stitched in reverse and then turned over and then put on the scabbard. So I think I've seen more realistic ones, even from Deepeeka. The brass throat locket it's executed. Is it executed well? No. These fittings here, they're pretty heavy duty, so I think they will last. That's good. The shape is okay. Is it executed really, really well? The chafe is actually executed far better than the throat locking. So there you go. Anyway, enough of that. So here's the sword, and from a distance, it looks mightily handsome. It's a handsome little sword. I say little sword because most of the swords I have are bigger than this sword. It's an arming sword from the late 13th and early 14th, mid 14th century, first half of the 14th century. There is a picture of the original in Oakeshot's Record of the Medieval Sword. And the actual item is in the Arms Museum in Paris at the Les Invalides, where Napoleon's buried. If you want to see the actual sword, and I've got a picture of it, I'll put it up so you can see that sword. There it is in all its glory. So, again, this sword came unsharpened, even though I paid for the sharpening service. I was able to put an acute edge on this without any problem at all, using my little sharpener. And I don't have super duper sharpening technology to sharpen swords. I use, I should show it to you, I don't know where it's at right now, but it's a very small item that is designed really to sharpen cutlery. But it did a fantastic job of putting an edge on this blade. So it's not really too sharp in here, but from here on down, it's pretty darn sharp. And I'll cut a couple things with it outside, and you can see that. Pretty good in the hand. Its point of balance is about there. It's about 4 inches below the guard. 3 3/4 inches below the guard. The whole sword is about 33 inches from the end to end. You saw the specs at the beginning, so there's a little distal taper to this blade, not a huge amount. It's not as rigid as such a short blade might be. It has some flex to it, not a lot. The pommel is brass, the crossguard is brass, the peen block is metal, and this is one of the issues right here with quality. Where the heck is it? There we go. See how off-centered this is? This is off-centered almost a 1/16 of an inch in this direction. I mean, I can get my finger here, and I get my finger here. It is not even. So there's that. If I look down the blade from the handle, I have to say that this sword, at least the one I have, and I have not abused this or really even used it, is not completely in alignment. So there's that. There's your typical massive gaposis here in the, in the guard where the blade goes in. It goes in there. I can see that it is there's something else in there. It sounds pretty good, although you hear that little at the very end, it doesn't sound like it's all solid. As an example, I'll show you something that is solid so you can compare. Uno momento. This is the sword that I rebuilt. So listen to this sword. And that ring, it means that this whole thing is all solid. if I use it a whole bunch, maybe it'll loosen up. But right now, this sword is super duper solid. It rings nicely. This is like a gigantic version of the smaller sword. But this one, it isn't bad. But there's a little dissonance down in here. So anyway, there's that. This sword makes it sound like I don't like this sword. Visually, it looks nice, and from a distance, it does. It looks great from a distance. It's just the devil's in the details, and the closer you look at the sword, the shoddier it looks. I paid around $210 for this sword, minus the shipping. Is the sword worth that? It's only worth that. Do not pay more than that for this sword, because it is not worth it. There are other swords like this sword that are far superior in construction. Okay, now maybe this is just a one-off. Maybe I got the bum one. Maybe the guy who made this sword was like, he was cranky, he was having a bad day, and so he put it together in a slipshod manner. But that's what I got. Now, the leather has been cord wrapped. You can see the edge there. It's glued on pretty nicely. There's a lot of discoloration. There's a lot of discoloration, you know, and it's not very evenly put together either. It's upsetting. Because I've seen this sword reviewed and it gets pretty good ratings, pretty good happy reviews. Again, wielding it wise, it feels pretty good. I mean, would I want to wield this in the battlefield? Well, it's pretty short, but I mean, if I was, depending on who I was facing, if I was facing a bunch of unarmored or lightly armored opponents, this would be fine. If I was facing some guy in a coat of plates or a brigandine that had a long sword, I would probably say, let me run away. It's got some nice text in here that is all engraved, and that's nicely done. The finish is pretty good. It's a satin finish, but that's done pretty well. It doesn't come to a very acute point, which is fine. The real one in the museum seems to come to a more acute point, but then again, the real one, there's a lot of pitting, and the blade isn't in as good a shape as this. Would I rather use this one or the real one in combat? Oh, this one. It's a real one would probably fall apart. But the real one is actually in pretty good condition considering it is, you know, as old as it is. So there you go. That's it. We'll watch me cut some stuff with this thing. And that's about all I have to report on this sword. Again, is it worth the money that it's being priced at right now? Yeah, but not a penny more. If you see this sword for $300, no, I wouldn't do it. If I was going to spend $300 on a sword, and $300 is not a lot of money for swords, there's others that are way better than this sword. And that is my review. Backstory of Philip the Fair, Philip IV. Philip IV was the guy who got rid of the Knights Templar, and he produced a lot of sons. And so I'm sure on his deathbed, Philippe thought, man, the Capetian dynasty is solid. I have done my duty as king of France. And so he died in around 1303, I believe, and his son, Louis, became Louis X, and then he died. And then Louis's brother, who was, I think, also called Philippe, he died. And then another king, which I think is Charles, then he died. So in very short order, all his sons didn't reign very long. And none of them had sons of their own And so by the 1320s, the only child of his that was alive was Isabella. And she was the wife of the King of England. And they produced Edward III, who decided to claim the throne of France for himself, and launch what turned out to be the 100+ years war. So that's it's a big story. Philip IV, he's a sort of larger than life king, and he's a central figure in the beginning of a monstrous conflict that went on for a long, long time, way more than 100 years. Anyway, so backstory. There you go. It's part of having a sword that doesn't have a perfect edge alignment. Also, I'm recovering from heart surgery, so I can't really put a lot of power into a cut. But anyway, that's all there is. I think if the sword you had was straighter, I think you could have fun with this. If I had used 2 hands, I probably could have put more power into it and cut that thing in half pretty easily. But anyway, there you go. Mixed bag on the low side. Sorry, I wish I could give you a better review. Man, I want to give you a better review. I like the shape of this sword, and it got so many other good reviews. Anyway, that's it.